Welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your co-pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue on our journey into the universe of the language of Chinese. My strategy is to talk about the language and to show you one phrase we're using and to explain to the character level and sometimes the formation of a character. They're amazing, like a rich history wealth of how humans, like way before us, when they have the liberty to create something, right, to communicate in a written form, how they are, especially Chinese, it's imagery based, like how they use one imagery to create a meaning and combine imageries to create secondary derived meaning and layer it up into a whole universe of Chinese. I find that very fascinating, and that's what I'm sharing here. So 退而求次 was learned last time, and I admitted to 七 here. So 七 simply means it's. Not going into details of that, but 退而求其次 is more often used in contemporary expression. When we're saying we're aiming for something, we want to aim high, right? But sometimes you don't get where you want to be, but you 退而求其次, that's your, another strategy like that. You still have option. Your option, like yours, you didn't get what you want, you set out to go for, but you get something, and that's your it may not be the ideal, but it may be the best for you actually. Okay, 学而时习之 is today's expression. I want to add the 七 to make it 5 characters, so it kind of sounding like the same structure. So 退而求其次, you have 而 on the second position. Here 学而时习之, you have 而 on the second position. So it means you do something, right? And then you do another thing. So there are 2 action verbs here. So 学 and 习, oftentimes in contemporary Chinese, 学习 just means schooling, 学习. And 学 means learn, and 习 actually means review. So basically, 学 is first time learning, 习 is all the reviews afterwards. That's our concept of 学习, study. Okay, so we talked about 学 before. It's a structure, it's a space with 子, like children inside, and their bookshelves on the wall, something like that, right? So that's where children are educated. That's what children are supposed to do, right? Did I say children's? Sorry, that's what children are supposed to do. So that's the concept of 学, what children are spending their time on. That's learning. That's the expectation of children. 而 is the connection word, same as yesterday. You can use it as and or but, depends on how logically you're linking the 2 segments of thought. So 学而时习之, because 学 and 习 are going the same direction. You want to really learn something and you review it again and again. Basically the meaning of the whole phrase, that's same direction. So it's and, it's not a but, right? It's what you're supposed to do. If you want to learn something, you have to oftentimes review it. So 时 is often, it actually originally means time, because we have this sun symbol. Before digital, right? Before clocks, like all these are later inventions. We have to look back at the time when this concept was created. People look at the sun position to determine time, right? That's the only time teller back then. So time, the sun symbol is used in the time concept. And this is time, but eventually it means often, like a frequency. It becomes something occurrence over time. That becomes the meaning here in this context. 时 just means often, frequently, reoccurringly, right? 习 is learning. So how this word came into being? Okay, we have this 3 strokes, sideways 3 strokes on this structure. It means wings, actually. So this is wings, this is wings. Something spread out of wings, right? So that's birds. So birds trying to learn to fly by spreading out their wings. That's the original meaning. So this is learning of little birds, so baby birds learning to fly. Probably this is their nest, right? So that's the original. So now the contemporary Xi simplified, we just have this structure left and just 2 strokes here. So like we didn't bother to keep all that, the full wing depiction there, but just this is just one side of the wing. So this is bird learning to fly. Zhi, okay, came from this structure. Can you see it? Somehow it becomes transformed into this, but this is something, some plant growing on the ground, on the soil. So because Chinese is agriculture-based culture, and a lot of things, concept we learn, we created a plant-based. So this is a typical one, a plant-based. Eventually, this word simply means referral of something. So I guess to the society back then, if you want to refer something that's meaningful for you, something. So that's some plant, a crop, right? You plant into the soil that's still growing, that's still there. That's something promising to deliver your food someday, right? So this is zhi to us. That's something meaningful for us. That's the it. So you learn and you often review it. That is a advice of learning technique back then. I guess it's universal and also applies to today as well, because when you learn something, you revisit each time you learn, you make new dots connections, right? And you can view it with new context, with new whatever you already have, and then you're going to build a bigger. You can view it on a higher elevation, or you can make new connections. So 学而时习之 is the advice for people. And because, okay, here I'm displaying to you 四书五经, altogether 9 books. So we have 4 classical learning. So this is basically the curricula of in the ancient Chinese. Students are supposed to memorize everything, every character, every word, on this, like the whole passage of the book back to back, right? So that's what we're supposed to do, and you have a certain level of understanding, and then you go to these exams to give the best shot. So these are the classics of Chinese teachings, right? So it got words, it got meaning, it got certain level of literacy, right? And most importantly, it's teaching, like how to approach things, how to understand things, even if young, like children may not understand fully, but they're supposed to memorize everything, so that when the time comes when life can apply, like situation display what's the teaching in these books are actually telling you, then you can basically go to your library of these books to retrieve the knowledge, to make the connection. Oh, this is what the book actually is talking about. So revisit was highly encouraged back then, that you read through one book, you memorize the whole book, okay, you go back to it again, new meaning to you because new life occurrence, and you can contextualize all the teachings on this classics better, right? Cashing the currency of thinking by 1 word a day with Sophie. See you another day.